If you are listening or watching, like, you matter to this world, you matter to whoever. Like, there's purpose in your life. And I say that out loud because, like, I struggle with that daily, like, as I'm sure you do and other people do. You could have the perfect life, trail building and, awesome family, and the demons inside still are like loud, 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 loud. But just know that you can get through it and life's worth it. It is.
All right, let's just get into it. Hey, welcome back to another episode of CrashinConvos. This episode we have Robbie Wells. Robbie and I go, I don't know, back like 5-6 years or so.
Yeah.
Met through the Dirt Therapy Project, and we've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. We've talked about it. He's a master trail builder. Also, you still active? Reserve?
Yeah, still in the guard.
Yeah, still in the guard. Just kind of want to get into chop it up with him and have a conversation around many different things such as trail building, riding bikes, background, etc., and everything that kind of goes into that. So, Robbie, thank you for coming on and sharing some time with us.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked to be here. I know we've talked about it for quite some time now, so it's nice to make it happen.
Yeah, dude. What's the weather like over there?
It's like kind of, yeah, cloudy. It's like low 50s right now. It's actually not too bad right now.
It's yeah, it's I guess it's kind of same over here. It's a little bit warmer though. It's probably like 70s right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So let's kind of get into your background a little bit. Well, you're from Arkansas, right?
Yeah. Born and raised in Arkansas, small town. Well, I think it's a small town. I think it was like 2,300 people. Berryville, Arkansas. Was born and raised my entire life there up until I graduated. That's when I ventured off and did other things. But yeah, interesting childhood, that's for sure.
Did you ride bikes there? Like, when was there always mountain biking in Arkansas?
Yeah, to an extent. Like, I can remember when I was in, it was either middle school or high school, going over to Eureka Springs and watching like the OG Fat Tire Festival at Lake Leatherwood. Um, it was like one track. I think it's DH2 now is the OG track there, and like just watching dudes like fly down this thing on these like horrible bikes, because they've came a long way. So
Yeah.
that's where I saw mountain biking for the first time, was out there. I'd always been involved in extreme sports though.
DH2, that's the one with so you go to the right side of Leatherwood, right? Or like if you're at the
Yeah,
top.
yeah. Right side of Leatherwood. It's got the main bluff drop and
Nice.
like
That's a
jump
fun
and
line.
stuff. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it's changed since then. I can't imagine people doing that drop off of those bikes, but with those bikes, but man, I don't know.
yeah, dude.
That's crazy. Um, what was life growing up there, and like, how did you like? What made you decide to join the military?
Yeah, so my life's a little interesting. I had both my parents were drug addicts, alcoholics.
Mm.
My dad more so through my childhood. My mom cleaned up like years before I was born. Um, but when I was like 5 or 6, my dad was still struggling with alcohol and drugs and stuff. So they split. So it was just my mom. Ever since then, she got cancer when I was like 7, I think. Um, and I was kind of her caregiver like up until she passed in 2017. So that kind of shaped a lot, like life wasn't normal. I wasn't normal. Struggled with a lot of like, at the time I didn't realize it, but depression and, anger and just questioning a lot of things. But luckily, like somehow I got influenced by like extreme sports. I got really into like dirt bikes and stuff. I thought that was super cool. And then that transitioned into skateboarding. I skateboarded for like 15 years, I think. Like was pretty decent at it, I'd say. But yeah, kind of bounced around sports like that.
Man, like, I know a little bit about that. And so one thing you mentioned was like normal, right? I don't even know what normal is anymore. Right? I mean, I think it's relative, right? But uh and I think I say this often, like, but like it's the reality of of the childhood that we grew up in, right? We didn't know any better.
Yep.
And the only type of contrast that we had is when we went over to a friend's house, and we were like, man, things are different here, it's not as or just the idea of not having to care for someone else, right? Or because
Yeah.
like when that you have that inverse relationship, it kind of sets a tone of how we carry ourselves, in the future, right? And some of the things that we are kind of geared to doing that most kids are not, or even adults are aware, or they never had to do that. And it's interesting because I grew up in a similar situation. It wasn't, I don't know, kind of varied, right? Like, and I'm not talking shit about my parents, and I don't think you are either. It's just the reality of it. But that on itself is and you don't realize that you are, and I'm not trying to put shit in your head. I'm kind of thinking out loud, based on my own experiences of how you move in the world after that. I like you. So how did what are the things that you realized about that you still do or no longer do from that? Like, did you continue that? Um, kind of
I
always looking out for people, or
100%, man. And just to put it out here, like my mom was like the best mom ever. Like for her being sick all those years, like she did everything she could to like make sure that I had the things I needed, and like to her limit. And then my dad eventually did come back around. He's clean. He's been sober for years now. He's came back around, but taking care of my mom, like there's a memory I have etched in my head, and it was like when she first started doing chemotherapy. It's like brutal, like just horrible. And I remember getting really sick when I was just a kid. Running around in my underwear in the house, like just doing what kids do. And like I remember walking by the bathroom door, and mom was like hunched over the toilet, like throwing up, like, and she's throwing up so much, like she's dehydrated. She's like weak. She can't like keep her head up. And me as a kid, like I just walk in there and I just hold my mom's head up, because like my mom's not doing well. I'm gonna,
right?
you know, and I didn't realize till later, like for a kid, like I guess that's like an interesting experience, if you will. Um, but that definitely shaped me 100% because like me caring for others, like it's almost to a fault, I would say, because I'm trying to get better at it, but I rarely like think of myself ever with anybody or anything. It is always to put forth effort into other people and make sure they're taken care of.
Yeah, and that's where I was kind of going with it, right? And for the audience or anybody listening, I guess one of the things that I struggle with is like I'm factoring in with the question like so many different variables, right? And where I want to go with it, right? Because there's
Yeah.
so much there, and it's because you become like hyper independent, right?
Hmm.
And that's good, but it's not, right? Because then a
Yeah.
lot of times you kind of leave yourself without, and so much so that you're depleted and you
Hmm.
kind of probably just go in a hole, right? And try to reset.
Yeah.
And then the other side, right? It could have gone the other way, right? Where you're just like, fuck it, I don't want to take care of anybody anymore.
Yeah.
I'm done, and it's interesting to me how we become the people we are by the things that happen to us, and it could manifest itself positively or negatively. So how do you like was there ever a time where you were just like questioning why you were in that position and then how has that
Oh,
changed or vice versa?
oh, yeah, man. I'd say my whole childhood, like, there was phases in high school, especially. I remember, you know, uh, probably wasn't the best son. Like, I always took care of my mom, but I wanted to be outside of the house 24/7. Like, I didn't want to be in the house. The house was a hellhole for me.
Mhm.
And so, I fixate on stuff. So I fixated on skateboarding at the time and got really good at it. But that's like all I wanted to do. Like, didn't care about school, didn't care about anything. Like, I just wanted to skateboard, be outside, be creative in that manner. And that's kind of where I filtered a lot of my anger and stuff through. And then, through the years going on, there was a phase where my mom started to get actually decent health. Like, she was never put in remission, but like she was doing okay health wise. We had moved up to Nebraska at the time to get her better health care, and she had family up there. And I started college, and college was going good. I was studying percussion, drums, and like mom just like went into a coma out of nowhere, and was in a coma for a week or more. And it was that moment that like I stopped caring about like college and like all this other stuff. And I don't know that it was like necessarily me like being like, oh, screw this. It was more like something happened in that time, and I was like, I just want to do what I want to do, and college is not what I want to do. And I don't regret that decision at all. Like, leaving college and stuff, like it's shaped my life. But I wouldn't say until like probably a few years ago, I really like had a couple of moments where I look back at my life and look at where I am now, and like I wouldn't change my childhood for anything. Did it suck? Yes, and most of the time I hated every bit of it, but you know that shaped who I am today and has made me successful in a lot of ways, and my career or the military, and so I would say, yeah, I've questioned it a lot over my life, like a lot. Very angry at times, like what did I do? Or more specifically, like what did my mom do? Why is she suffering, So yeah.
Yeah, that's rough, man. Um, and I don't know what your faith base is, but one thing I'm learning is, and I'm coming to understand is, like, for me personally, all the stuff I've gone through, uh, I'm starting to understand that there are no coincidences and everything happens for a reason. Even though I don't understand it, and those times suck for me. And so do you have that understanding or coming to that understanding, or is it still like trying to understand it?
I think my whole life, like my mom always preached that. Like, so I grew up in, like, there wasn't a single time in my life I was never not in church. Like, that was my mom's deal. So I was raised in church and stuff, and so I think my view has shifted over the last few years. Believe there's a higher power and stuff, but mom always told me, everything happens for a reason. Like, there's always a purpose behind it. When I was really young, you're like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
sure, like whatever.
You know what you're talking about, Mom.
Yeah. And then like now, I say it, and I say it to, soldiers I deal with. I say it to my employees. I say it, everything happens for a reason. Cause like there's nothing you can't back up that's like, oh, well, this is why this happened. And this is why this happened. This shaped me this way. This did this, like it's so true. Like 100%, like everything that has happened in my life has sent me down a path, and there was purpose behind it. So
Yeah, and I was thinking about that, like when your mom had that coma, right? It like shifted your, like, well, one, it kind of, uh, I don't know, like distilled down what was important to you, and then it kind of shifted you in a different direction, kind of brought you to this point now. I mean, if you would
yeah,
have went to school and that didn't happen, then you would have been in a completely different direction, probably hating your life right now.
going the military was right after that coma.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you joined, what was the reason why you joined?
So I have a pretty healthy history of like military service in my family on both sides, including like my dad. My dad was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps. He got medically retired from an injury. My mom was Air Force. spent some time doing computer stuff in the Air Force for years. So like the feeling of like service was always there, whether I realized it or not. It was always deep inside. Um, Towards the end of high school, I tried to join. I was not in the best physical standing, is what I would say, like health wise. Like I just couldn't get in, and so I
Right.
was like, whatever. And so went to college. That whole coma thing happened. I started taking care of myself a little better, and I was having a conversation with the man upstairs, and it was at a low point. You know, I was in a coma. I was pretty depressed, and I was just like on my computer, and I was like, hey, if there's a certain job I want, and if it's open uh, for recruiting, like I'm gonna walk down to the freaking recruiting office today. And sure enough, job search, they were looking to fill this spot in the Nebraska National Guard, and I was like, well, looks like I'm going to the recruiting office. So I
Hmm.
went down there and signed up and was on my way.
And what job was that?
So at the time it was it's a 56 mic. It's a chaplain's assistant, which
Okay.
sounds like a lot of people are like, oh, like it's just a bunch of Bible thumping like people, and that's not even like like that much of my role. Like, dude, like it's just taking care of people. That's what I do when people are at their worst. Like, obviously, I take care of the chaplain too, but the main reason I chose this job is because it's like true soldier care, like training, counseling, 100% confidential. All the suicide training too, and I just talk to troops. Like that's what I do. That's my job, especially at ground level. Now I'm like up at division level, so not as much, but yeah, it's just taking care of people, which is like, what I like to do. So
That's wild, dude. He just reminded me. I mean, because I got away from it too, right? I got away from like the idea of God, and because it was like my mom was the same way, right? Everything happened for a reason. You should go to church. You can't question because like so but you brought back a memory of when I first joined. I like in basic, well, not in basic tech school. They had these like like different ropes, right? Like you could put on, and it was like it was like a red one meant like some type of like leader or something. But there was a white one. It was a chapel rope. I was a chapel rope, right? So we had like some and yeah. So you kind of brought back that memory for me. I was like, damn, I forgot about that. And then I just got away from it, right? The way I was living and what have you. But so you've been doing that to this point, in the
yeah,
guard.
majority of my career,
That's awesome.
I've had a pretty interesting career because like my first deployment was I volunteered to go on, and I went as a door gunner on the CH-47 Chinook, like a completely different role.
That's
And
wild.
then
That's
yeah, and then when we went to when I moved back to Arkansas, I did a short stint in artillery for a little bit. It was like maybe for like 4 years. Um, just trying to like freshen up stuff. That's the cool thing about the guard is like if you get tired of something, you can really just go do whatever you want to do. And then I eventually came back to this role, and that's where I'm at now. I'm at the state level in Little Rock at a senior level for it, which is really cool. Kind of a wild ride to get there.
yeah. And it's like what were your thoughts when you had the the conversation with the man upstairs, as you said, and that job came available?
It's a 2.5 hour drive, like to Grand Island, Nebraska every drill,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't care, I want it. Like, so it was cool, man.
So like it's almost when you saw it, you kind of got a little excited for
Oh
it.
yeah.
That's wild, dude. Like that is a very niche position. And yeah, like in what if people don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you're protecting the chaplain, like they can't carry firearms, but you can, right? You're literally like their security detail.
Exactly. Yep. Security detail. So especially on like deployments,
Hmm.
like you're planning every little bit of transport, security, the everything. You're kind of like all the S shops and as one person. So
Yeah, crazy, dude. I'm kind of lost in thought of it, like everything that kind of led you to that point, and then you kind of it was almost like it was all the things that, and at least this is the way I see it. all those things that were happening in your life were preparing you for this position, to take care of others. And it's interesting, like when I don't know, when people are like, I prayed for something, and it's like, but all like their life seems to be like falling apart. But it's like, no, you prayed for this. It's just preparing you for what you prayed for, and it doesn't. So be careful what you pray for.
Yeah.
Um, so how did you so you go in the military, you're still in the military. Like what was it like to, because like being in the guard, that's different. Like you drill every other weekend, and then so you're kind of used to being home all the time, and then when you deploy and you come back, like that transition from one state to another, it's I don't think it's a little different from active duty. Maybe not. So what was that experience like coming back from deployments and then reintegrating with your family?
Ooh, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was awful. Like, uh, you know, I, a lot of people shit on the guard because they're like, oh, weekend warriors, whatever. And, that may have been the case, like back in like the late 90s. But ever since GWOT kicked off, like it's a completely different ball game in the guard now. Like it's not just one weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. Like I can't tell you how often I'm going to schools and everything because we got a lot of the stuff over in the Middle East, especially nowadays, it's all guard ran. A lot of these bases and stuff. Um, so I always wanted to deploy. 9/11 was ingrained in my head. I still remember the day. I remember getting off the bus and mom's in front of the TV crying, and like what the heck? And then you see the towers, and you're just like, as a kid, you don't really understand, but something was lit inside of me at that point. And I was like, I want to join the military. I want to deploy. Like that's what I want to do. Like that's where my purpose. I felt where that's where my purpose was. Um, joined the military as chaplain assistant. I was in an aviation battalion, the one in 376 out of Grand Island, Nebraska, and they've got like Dakota helicopters, Chinooks, Blackhawks, the whole thing. And aviation in the Guard is huge because it's like they're busy. They deploy a lot once every 2 3 years. Like I remember the guys I deployed with. I mean, they went to Afghanistan, came back a couple years. We went to Kuwait, came back, and then they were back in Afghanistan. Like it was just like a quick rotation for aviation. So I got to this unit. Was pretty high speed as a soldier. Always volunteering for stuff, like doing good things. And the sergeant major, command sergeant major there, McBride, knew me pretty well. And it came down that Bravo Company, Second 135th, needed door gunners because on the IMTO, they're only slotted for a certain amount of people per aircraft. And when you get overseas, that number is actually, I think it's like one extra. So you have to take volunteers like to fill these positions. And a door gunner slot, like I'm not going to say it's like anybody can fill it, but if you can easily trainable, disciplined, and like pretty smart, like you can get trained up on it and take that role. And since I knew the sergeant major, I got in his ear and got my name put in the roster and ended up going. But coming back, after being over there, it's interesting because you're not like coming from military back to military. You're like, you know, and then you come back home, and now you're having to go, potentially like sit in an office with a bunch of people that have no idea of what the real world is like, and how crappy it can be. And yeah, it's rough on the brain, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a different dynamic. Um, because they're expecting you to come back as the same person that they remember you leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're coming back with these drastic world, like real world experiences that you can't really talk about because some of them, like, it's I can't think of the word right now for whatever reason. I don't want to say it's secret, but it's like, I don't know, you can't talk about, like, it's sensitive. It's sensitive
Yeah,
information.
yeah.
You can't say where you're at. You can't say because a lot of people don't know like we're in places that is not on the news. There's movements that happen that were there, and then when people hear about it, like it's like, I don't know, we've been there for like a year or whatever.
I noticed a lot. There's a lot of things, but like was uh, you know, veteran humor is just different.
Yeah.
Like it's gruesome, but especially after you've like spent some time in like a combat zone or like in the Middle East wherever, and you have these experiences. Like I feel like it's veteran humor, but like turned up like 100. So like there's a couple of times you'd be having a casual conversation with like a coworker or something, you make some little joke, and then everyone's just like looking at you, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
Tough crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I, but real quick, you're every time, like, I've been losing you. I don't know if your headset's going out. Like you'll like when you're quiet for a little bit and then you start talking again, like I can't hear you. Like it takes like a while for your mic to sync up again. So I don't know if it's your Bluetooth or
Is this working any better?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's more real time.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to throw off the vibe.
No, you're good.
I was like, man, I want to hear what you're saying. I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, I mean that's a different dynamic too. And that's something, so at least with active, you're coming back into a shop or and either people were deployed with you or they just kind of understood or we had the dark humor anyways. Granted, when leadership was around, you had to be on your P's and Q's and stuff, but for the most part, it was kind of, no holds barred, kind of talking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you're in the field, it's the same thing. Like it's probably amped up a little bit, especially when you're like tired and delirious and you're kind of just like not even, there's like no filter at all and you're just kind of just saying
Yeah.
whatever.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I that's one thing I've been thinking about recently is on Veterans Day I made like a video or something and it's just bringing awareness to like the word sacrifice, and it's not like that's on a spectrum, but like being away from family and then like when you come back home, especially if you have like young kids and trying to reintegrate, right? With the family when they got used to you being gone, and then you're coming back and you're trying to like just pick up where you left off, and it's just like, whoa, we don't do like things like that
Yeah.
anymore. Or your kid's not like really close to you because you've been gone. So there's like different levels to that. Or at the same time, like you got used to being, and I'm not trying to put stuff in your head, but
Yeah.
you got used to being away, so now you don't understand. Like I want to be close to my kid, but like now I'm getting like, I'm talking about myself now. Like you're getting like frustrated because you're not used to that dynamic anymore, or the
Yeah, man,
crying and stuff like that.
that was my second. So my first deployment, it was just my wife and I at the time, or she was my fiance at the time, but that was rough. Struggle with anger, lots of other mental health issues when I came back, and just tried to grit my teeth through it. Second deployment, my mindset was like, oh, we've been through this before. This is going to be fine. Well, I had my daughter, Joey. She was born in 2019, and this was 2021 when I deployed. And I didn't think anything of it. And I mean, you're exactly right. Coming home, like, I had some suicidal ideations in the past with my life, but that was like the darkest, hardest part of my life was that transition from this last deployment home. And it was not because of my daughter, but that's the,
Right.
you know, yeah, rough stuff, man.
That was the one. Like I'm assuming like that was the one we went to go welcome you back, right? Yeah. I didn't really know you then, but I remember having like a short conversation with you and like just kind of I could see just because I recognized myself and like
Mm-hmm.
the way you were interacting and carrying yourself. You were there, but you weren't really there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to like call you out or nothing, but it's
No,
just
dude.
that reality of it. Like it's just like fuck, man. Go take care of you. Like do just don't apologize. Just fucking go home. Do
Yeah.
whatever you need
It,
to do to
it's
reset.
it's so it's so true, dude. Because David Hansen, the guy that helps me with the chapter here.
Mm-hmm.
He tells a story all the time, and it was shortly after I came home. It may have been when you guys were all up here. We were out riding Huntley, and he showed up. He wasn't a part of the dirt therapy. He had bought a jersey, and Jess the maker was there, and like told him like, "Hey, this is Robbie. He leads the chapter. Go talk to him and meet him." And this was a month maybe after I got home. And he like comes up and talks. I don't even remember it, but he's like, "Hey man, I'm David, interested." And I don't know the whole interaction, but I was pretty much like, "Yeah, cool, man." And then just like took off writing, like, and he tells it to this day. He's like, "Man, that Robbie guy's a douche," like. And I laugh about it because I was like, "Man, yeah, that was kind of douchey." But
Yeah.
to what you were saying, like that's 100% it. Like I was not home. Like I was trying to be anywhere else but here.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I don't know. And that's something that, and I'm not saying, because that's something we signed up for, or we didn't know was part of the thing we signed up for, but we did sign up
Yeah,
for it. And I'm not trying to say, but it's just to highlight the reality and like the circumstances around like reintegrate or integration
yeah,
with family or just our society, right, in general. Um, and some people it doesn't like it's not even a thing, but other people
mm-hmm,
it's just how it's our life experiences and how it shaped us to that point, right? And
yep,
we kind of fall back in a stressful situation. We fall back on the things that we used to do as kids. I used to um, isolate. I mean, I still do it sometimes, but it's not as bad as like I got more tools in the
yeah,
toolbox, so to speak, to deal with it. Mountain biking's one of them, right?
yeah,
Um, so I guess, do you still skateboard?
yeah. Actually, I just picked up a skateboard like a year ago. After like a 13-year hiatus, trying,
Oof.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually been pretty good, man. Like it's nice to have something outside of like mountain biking and stuff to like get the other creative juices flowing, and
Yeah.
it's been good because there's a couple of guys on my trail crew that skate, and so it's been nice just to do something different.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. I talk about that often is don't be one dimensional. I mean, not just for like the wiring of your brain and challenging yourself, but it's more so like you have burnout, right?
Oh yeah,
And at least I do. Like I love riding my bike, but then sometimes I get to the point where I'm like I just want to sell my bikes and just kind of pick
yeah,
up something else. But it's like every time I get back on it, I'm like, why was I thinking that?
hmm,
But it's just do different things, right?
yeah,
And it's also, I see this in a lot of people where they become, it's their therapy, but it also become that therapy can become an addiction, and then
hmm,
they start to compound their problems by, you know, and that's not just with mountain biking; it's with any sport. It could be skateboarding, it could be
yeah.
whatever. You just neglect your family, your responsibilities, etc. But yeah, um, how did you get into like trail building? Like, when did that become
Oh man, I
because you said
so
you were,
we
it sounded like you were working in an office before or something, right?
yeah, man, we moved. My wife and I. She's from Iowa. I lived up in Nebraska for a period. I think it was like 6 years. Always wanted to move back. Just miss the outdoors and stuff. So we moved back, and I think it was 2017, 2018, somewhere around there, and got a job at JB Hunt Transport, a big trucking company in this office. And I worked there for several years, paid well. Like it was just an office job though. Like all my other friends had office jobs and like they enjoyed it. So I was like, maybe it's something I'd like. And, you know,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years later, my wife's like, you need to leave your job because you're miserable. And I was like, "Oh." But when I moved back, I think it was like 2018, 2019, the trails around here were like starting to really start to grow. And I noticed it because we lived in Bella Vista at the time, and it was like a random day. I was like, told my wife, I was like, we need mountain bikes. Like, I didn't have any extreme sports stuff going on at the time, and I'm adrenaline junkies. I was like, we need to try this out. I was like, we'll go buy some cheap hardtails, these giant hardtails. We'll try it out. If we like it, cool. If not, sell them. Went and picked up bikes, and then it was like nonstop obsession for me after that. To the point where there was times my wife was like, "You remember me? Like, you gotta hang out with me," But got really into that, and that was during the JB Hunt thing, and that was kind of like a saving grace for me there. And then the Trailblazers had a post up. It was like some social media poster on the trail crew, and I went to my wife to talk to her about it, and I was just assuming I was going to get shut down because it was a decent pay cut. And I came to her and I told her about it, and instead of like looking at me like I was a crazy person, my wife was like, "Do it." And I was kind of like taken back. I was like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
for real? Like, we're gonna do this?" And so I give the credit to her 100% because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for her. And I applied, and now years and years later, here we are, Bob the Builder.
How long you been doing it? That's a while when you go.
19, 20, 22, 6 or 7 years, I think.
Okay.
Experience wise, I would say I gained a lot of experience quicker than most because of the Trailblazers. They operated a little different than normal trail building companies. So me and a lot of my other friends that work there, Ethan Edmond and them, like we got to grow really quick, which is not always the case in the community. So definitely thankful for that and the opportunities I got there, because I would definitely not be to the level I'm at now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. And then plus, like, I don't know, like it seems like Bentonville has kind of been in this like exponential growth every year, but not just like houses, but also like trails.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was the shift like going from the environment you were before to trail building?
Dude, it was pure bliss. I know you've said previously, you kind of like independent, you would isolate stuff like that, and like so being out in the woods, on a trail, I have a friend or something with me, a coworker with me, but you're out there by yourself. Like
Yeah.
there's no life doesn't exist out there to an extent. It's just you, a shovel or a rake, and dirt. It's as simple as it gets. So the transition was like awesome for me. It was physical, which helped me a lot. The mental aspect of it, having to problem solve and think things through, it felt like all my gears were firing for the first time in a long time, because I think I got snippets of that when I was deployed, where everything was firing and, problem solving and physical and all this, and then you come back to an office job and it's just like, I'm just shining the seat with my butt, like
Yeah.
no thoughts being put into whatever I'm doing on the computer,
Yeah, it's so my career field in the military was I was cable dog. So we were always, or I'd say like 80, a good amount of our job was being out in the woods, in the field, digging with backhoes, trenchers, shovels, all the whole nine, digging long trenches or climbing up towers, and that's where we were the happiest, or at least I was the happiest. So yeah, I understand like going back to, the office and having to check email, especially I was around like when I served before like computers like email became a thing. So to go from that, like where you never had to check email to having to check email, it was just like,
So like pre email, was that like stone tablets or?
yes, it was. I had my own stone tool. Yeah, but yeah, so I understand like what that is, and as you were talking about that, I was like, I wonder how many other people in our career field have gotten depressed or what have you when they, the more rank you get, you go behind a desk.
Yeah.
And or if you get out of the military, right, most people will go into contracting or
Yeah.
GS or what have you. Or like they just get like a job or they're just working as a trucker or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And they don't understand that disconnection, right, of why they're miserable. They're making more money, but now they haven't driven that connection that they're not in the field anymore. They're not with their guys, so that loss of tribe, that loss of
Yeah.
like mission, the sense of purpose, and then nature on itself, man. So, and it's also interesting, and I'm glad you gave your wife the credit because my wife too, like your spouses or your family will know that there's something wrong with you before you will.
Hmm.
It's amazing what we get used to. So
Yeah, man. And that's one reason I like advocate for trail building to like veterans in particular or service members is, you know, like you were talking, being with the guys, you're not with the guys anymore. You're not in the field. You're not doing this stuff. Well, trail building, you get all of those things still. Because, I mean, people see trail building on social media and they think it's this like cush, sweet gig, which it is awesome. But like, it is brutal, dude. Like, we're
yeah,
working all weather types, all terrain types. Sometimes you're out there building a trail. It could be a miles long trail by hand with a pickaxe.
yeah,
You know, it is brutal. Now
yeah,
it is very rewarding, but the thing you rely on is your guy or gal to your left and right.
hmm,
Like, and that's what gets you through those things. And that's why the Trailblazer crew, especially the guys that were here with me before, we're such a tight knit group, like even outside of work. And it's just because, it's like similar to the military, you go through all this crap and you have no choice but to be close to each other.
yeah. Yeah, you learn how to lean on each other and you're working and you're kind of doing something that sucks together. So there's like trauma bonding. Uh, and you're creating something together. So like it's like personal, right?
Yeah.
Um, so do you have any like this is gonna sound extreme, but do you have any like pre-rituals before like building a line? Like how do you stake out the line? Like what's that process like?
I mean,
Do you like get the dirt and smell it? Just
I taste it. I start eating it and stuff.
that explains.
No, trail buildings came such a long way since its inception, and like the sense of like there's lots of processes involved. There's still grassroots aspects to it, and I'll get to that. But it starts in an office on a computer looking at a topo map
Mm,
of a zone that you're looking at putting trail at, whether that's somebody came to you wanting a trail, a city, private owner, whatever. And so you're looking at a topo map, kind of getting the layout of the land, looking for draws, spurs, where all the water's going, kind of like steep sections, bluff lines, all of that stuff.
yeah.
You kind of get that put in your head pre, uh, location recon. And you kind of, what we do is we'll digitally stake out on the computer where we think lines should go. And then the grassroots aspect of it is when we show up on the ground, because a computer's not going to tell you everything that's there. There could be a house-sized, boulder that's
Yeah.
in the middle of the line that you didn't see. But what I like to do is like we always go, to where the top of the trail is going to be, the top of the hill. And when I get out there, I like to just take a moment and just like look around. And take in everything that's at the top of this hillside, looking down the ravine, everything, and just kind of soak it in. I don't know if there's any like ritualistic part to that, but
Not
just
yet.
kind of looking to see what you're working with and like trying to get a general understanding of it. And then we just go through and we try to follow these computer generated lines as best we can and flag the line, but it, like I said before, it doesn't tell you everything. and there's a personal aspect to it because you're going to see things in this where the trail's going that the computer doesn't see, like a cool like tree gate, you'll go through, or this cool bluff drop, or maybe a natural hip on the outside of the slope. So there's like the real personal part of it is just like being able to go out there with an open canvas and like let your brain just kind of see what it sees and lay it out on there. And it's interesting because like I'll go through and flag something saying it should be this way, especially now in the job I'm in now, because normally I'll flag it and a different guy will come and actually build the trail. So you'll tell him the ideas and whatnot, and sometimes he comes through and builds exactly what you saw, or sometimes he'll call you and he'll be like, hey man, what do you think about this? It's this collaborative thing, because what I see is going to be completely different than what you see or somebody else sees in that same landscape. And that's the best part about it, is the collaboration aspect, taking what's there and seeing what all kinds of things we can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, because we can't see everything, right? And we have our own. That's pretty cool. How does it like, so let's say you're going with it like a new fresh line, like does a land tell you whether it's gonna be like a black line or if it's gonna be a green line? Like how do y'all decide that, or do you decide that going in?
I'll say yes and no. Sometimes the terrain 100% dictates it. Like if we know we're on the computer, we're looking, those topo lines are like as close together as possible. We're like, okay, like we're probably going to be pretty steep, pretty gnarly, and we'll go from there. But sometimes you get a hillside that is pretty decent, like evenly spread out grade, and you can kind of just pick and choose, because you can make trails as black as you want, even if the terrain necessarily doesn't have what you need. That's dictated off features or the natural aspects of the trail. Around here, we've got, or actually let's talk about like a UHP. When I was out there designing and building those trails, the black trail that I built, the hybrid trail, they're off the left side of the hub. That was one of those moments, like I just saw this like cool little steep ravine, and I knew what I wanted to do there, and I knew it was going to be a black trail, but like I didn't know how it was necessarily going to shape up. There was like key things of it. I was like, yes, I want these here, but everything else I was like, it's just going to come to me when I'm building right there in that spot, which is so sick. That's like the most natural, creative mindset you can be in. But yeah, to answer your question, it goes both ways. If stuff's steep, like there's only one type of trail that's going to go there, and that's black trail.
Yeah, or a gnarly green.
Yeah.
Like what is it? Because I mean, every time I go look, like there's a few places where I've been allowed to build here. I mean, granted, it's different terrain. There's a lot of limestone here, and maybe I'm just a purist, or maybe, I don't know. Like I try to build, well, in my mind, I haven't really built a trail. I've helped dig at some trails, but in my mind, I'm like, I want to build around as many things, like use the land as opposed to kind of just bulldozing through the land to make what I want to see. Like where's that balance, and like how does that play into your planning?
Yeah, I'd say especially like if we look at a place like Bella Vista where I'm at here, it's like just forests everywhere, lots of trees. When we're going through and flagging the line and looking at things, that balance comes from, we're not going to take old growth trees that have been there for hundreds of years. At least I'm not. There is a safety aspect of it too, though. Like if, let's say, we want a blue flow trail down this ravine, and if I don't take this tree and I shift the trail to the right, maybe the grade goes like 10% steeper. Like that's a no-go, right? Because you got to think of the safety aspect of the rider as well. So then at that point, you would take that tree. But if there's any wiggle room left, right of the tree, or anything like that, like we will always take that because it's one thing to take little saplings or something like that, new growth, like little things, because there's millions of trees out here. Um, but one thing we try to stay away from is the big old growth trees as much as we can, unless it's going to interfere with rider safety for whatever trail that we're trying to make there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's something I try to factor into. Like, it's like I guess trying to be a good steward of the land and not necessarily like kind of just I don't know. Maybe I'm more aware of it now because they're building a bunch of subdivisions around where I live and they're just fucking mowing down like acres and acres of land, hundreds
Yeah.
of acres. And I don't know. And that's something I want to get into is trail building. Granted, like I said, it's different terrain. Um, and yeah, it's just I like the idea of it because of the things we talked about earlier. You're out in the woods, you're kind of just creating something, right? And then something you're going to enjoy or like other people are going to enjoy. What is one of what's that feeling like when you get that feedback from the writers or hopefully it's positive feedback.
Man, it's like, sounds cliche, but it's like being on top of the world, because what goes into every trail, is very, very just hard blood, sweat, and tears. You know, yeah, we may be in machines for some trails, we may be, hand building some trails, but the same amount of, work goes into everything. I think about the trail Furnos I built out at the castle. It was the first adaptive jump line in the world. And we got to build this whole thing. We used a group of the adaptive riders through the process to help us make tweaks and stuff because, we had to change the way some of the shapes were to better fit the adaptive bikes. And, that took some self-reflection. You had to keep your ego and your pride out of it because I can't tell you how many times we built a shape and it was like perfect, right? And then they come through and they ride it and they're like, this sucks. And you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
all that to get to at the end. When we opened that trail, they had their adaptive summit here. And I can't remember how many adaptive riders. It was like 50 or 100 adaptive riders. Like I got to be out there and watch them take first laps down this trail. Some of them getting air on their adaptive bike for the first time ever, and just seeing their faces like light up. Like the experiences that we get to give people is like unlike any other. I mean, think about like I always go back to jumping. That's what I like doing. But the feeling of weightlessness and flying, like you don't get to experience that in a lot of places, and you get to witness people experience it for the first time, and there's something special about that.
Yeah, that go a little woo woo here. But it's that energetic resonance that people give off. Like, I mean, you can probably feel that at a concert. Maybe you look at musicians. We were talking about playing drums earlier. Like, but it's that energy you're feeling, right? That people are like are just exuding, right? That genuine like transfer of emotion, and it can work negatively, but in this case, man, and so I used to be like in project management, right? And a lot of times we never saw the end result. It was always planning and stuff popping up. So to have that sense of accomplishment at the end of something, and then to have that feedback, that positive feedback, that makes it all worthwhile, right?
Yeah, dude. It's like you get to watch it from like there's literally nothing there but trees and leaves on the ground and nothing. And then you go through and you build this trail. You go through all these steps, all these problem solving events, everything. You get to the very end and you put the last pack on the last berm, and that's like the starting point, right? Like the last pack's done and it's like now people get to ride it. And so like you're saying, yeah, I get to see it from nothing to its finished product where people are utilizing it the way it's supposed to be ridden.
Man, I need to change career fields. That sounds amazing. Do you ever like, well, I'm pretty sure you guys like run into like people that kind of give you guys crap about like just destroying nature. Y'all
Yeah,
catch that?
yeah. I'd say not as much as we used to. Um, we get a lot of people that just like, especially in Bella Vista, not as much as we used to, but older people, you know, because this was a retirement community, that are just like don't know anything about trails. I can remember like building parts of Little Sugar or Connections in Bella Vista, and having like this one time, this like old lady came up to me and told me that we're the reason Bella Vista has a meth problem, and I was like, "What?"
Whoa.
Yeah, she's like, "You guys are transporting meth, you know, on your bicycles," and I'm like, "Actually, that's not a bad business plan, all right?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
I like where your head's at,
but
lady.
yeah. But we used to get that a lot, and it made you kind of edgy. And I remember there was a trail over by Tanya Creek connection I was building. It was in this really steep ravine, like really tight trail that I was building with a machine. And it was behind this lady's house. And I see out of my peripheral this lady walking up, and she's probably like in her 70s or 80s. You know, my first thought, I'm like, oh, damn, here we go. Like, great, you know.
She can come buy some meth.
Yeah, yeah. She walks up, and I was like prepared. I was like, oh, here we go. I'm just gonna get my butt reamed by this lady. And she came up, and it was like a completely different thing than what I was expecting. She was so stoked that there was a trail being built, that now she and her husband can go hike down to Tanya Creek, which is this like, you know, creek that has a waterfall and stuff
I've
from
been
their
there.
house.
It's beautiful there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and like that kind of took me back. I was like, whoa, like maybe I need to check myself, you know, like stop thinking everybody's out here just to, you know, give us a hard time.
Yeah. I wish it would do that in more cities, and I think more cities are starting to adopt that. I mean, more specifically, in like San Antonio, as I alluded to earlier, they're building like a bunch of, and I'm going somewhere with this, but they're building a bunch of subdivisions, and they're just kind of like mowing down everything, and
Yeah.
there's no balance to the green space to residential space. I don't even know if that's the right terms, but I feel like if they were to integrate that more, it would make it more, what's the word? More alluring for like the
Yeah.
community to kind of spend time in the woods, and then you know what I mean? There's that balance as
Yeah.
opposed to just like this metropolis, right? Which
Yeah.
it's just it's not good for really anyone, right? And
Hmm.
we can get into the like the albedo effect of how like sun rays reflection and like changing whatever, right? It's
Yeah.
not good on many levels. But from the conservationist, right? It's like a hunter, right? I hear they catch shit for like I don't know killing bears or whatever
Hmm.
or wolves, or I don't say they kill wolves, but it's that balance, right? Like if you don't, so let me see how I can tie this in. I know what I want to say, but like if you're building trails, one, it brings people, the community into nature, but it also um helps them respect nature, right? Because now they're like connected with it, right? They're riding
Hmm.
through it, so they're more likely to um be mindful, be willing to um I don't want to say protect it, but to be a part of it, but more so more than like spiritually, but more so like I'm trying to think of the word, like from I don't want to say a steward, because if I guess my point is like if you're not, if like you're always inside and you're always in the city, you don't care about the trees, you don't care about
Yeah.
like how what's happening in there, if there's any waste or anything.
Yeah.
But if you become more aware of it and more integrated into it, then you will respect it, and there's more of a balance as opposed to
Yeah.
kind of what's happening here in San Antonio. No, there's the community here. There is a lot of people that ride bikes, but there is more people, especially like people like they sit on the city council and stuff. And maybe I'm overgeneralizing here, but a lot of those guys aren't active. You know, they don't get
Hmm.
outside. At least from my perception of it, it's like these dudes, probably need to move a little bit. But when you don't have that, and then you're making decisions based off of just financial, and you don't have this understanding of balance, then you miss the opportunities of what you can really grow a place to be, right? So
Yeah.
if you were to build trails, like legit trails here, which there has been an effort, don't get me wrong, but then like I think they slow roll it where there's money allocated for it, and then they slow roll it so that people like they give up, man. They we go
Yeah.
to the council meetings and say why we need them and why we want them, but then life happens. So that I think that's what they bet on, so that way they can build more trails and people line their pockets. Maybe I'm just not giving them enough credit, but it is frustrating because it's like you guys have a real opportunity to make more money. This city, in at least San Antonio, their main industry is tourism. At least it has been for that and the
Hmm.
Spurs. But like, why wouldn't you want to capitalize, right, on you have people coming here for like tourism, and that's a different facet that you could bring or diversify your portfolio, if you will, in tourism and bring more people here, especially like in the winter months when people can't ride up north. I mean,
Yep.
you have Spider, San Antonio more specifically. You could bring your bike, you could ride. And I'm not saying there's not good trails here, but there are a lot of them are rough, raw, and just kind of like built by, us,
Yeah.
over time. And I think people have been trying to apply the Bentonville um, model, just don't have enough people being active enough. I said a lot there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy, like thinking about Bentonville and like, people love to give the Waltons crap for, being this rich family and, all this stuff, right? And the one thing I try to remind people around here is like, they did not have to give any money to build any of these trails. Like they didn't have to. There was nobody was forcing their hand. Nobody was, they could have went to Colorado. They have land in Colorado. They could have built,
Anywhere they wanted to, yeah.
wild, right? And they chose here. And it is crazy because I live here. Sometimes I get
And
like
you're from
numb
there,
to it.
right?
Yeah. I get numb to it. You're driving down the road and you pass 20 freaking mountain bikers, and then you have like 10 joggers, and you have like all these things that are like normal to me, and I don't even like pay attention to it anymore. And then some days I drive down the road and I'm like, holy crap, like it's crazy how active this community is, whether it's hiking, biking, running, kayaking is a big thing now up here. There's so many different aspects that really like got pushed by the trails, um, to make that big growth happen. And it's hard because like you do have to have, a good amount of people on your side, and have to have someone, in that seat doing that politician's position to like, you know,
Advocate.
advocate, it can happen, like Bentonville didn't happen overnight. That's for sure. It definitely happened quickly. Um, but yeah, yeah, I don't know what exactly the answer is for these other communities wanting to do it. Besides, I mean, you have to get some kind of buy-in.
I think that's what it is. I mean, I'm not trying to. Obviously, I'm biased, right? But I think for me, it's kind of like you, right? I'm from San Antonio. I grew up here. I didn't know there was trails here, but I also know like I'm on the other side of the fence now, where I understand what all the benefits of the city or being on the trails, riding bikes, moving actively. Like, I mean, it's no secret. We have like a huge, I mean, it's cultural, right? It's on many
Yeah,
levels. So there's crime, right? There's, and that's with any city, but I feel it's like, what do they say? Idle hands are the devil's playthings.
yeah,
And so if you were to provide or at least the opportunity or the vehicle or the place to ride, uh, like legitimately, like the trails as Bentonville has, then you have kids that are kind of finding the sport, being active
hmm,
on their own time, on the weekends, families kind of together. And within time, like the crime will go down because they're more active, they're doing something outside, they're together, the family unit's more cohesive. And on top of that, the secret I was talking about was like Granted, our food is delicious, but if you have it every day, it's not good for you, your health wise, right? So you
Yeah.
have like freaking diabetes, like clinics everywhere. And I'm not talking about type 1, I'm talking about type 2. And that's an epidemic here. And it has been for a while. And I didn't notice it until I had to notice it when family members started getting sick and stuff. And I was like, holy shit, there is a lot of freaking dialysis centers here.
Yeah.
And that's because of inactivity. Um, but with that, as you see, as you kind of alluded to, like you're driving around, you're seeing how active the place is. And I'm pretty sure, like that lady in the beginning, right? Like people think, because I heard the same arguments here. Like, well, if you build trails here, then these kids are going to be like up to nothing. They're going to do drugs behind my house,
Yeah.
etc. Right? But maybe that is a small percentage of it, because people are going to do what they do. But the majority of people, if they are using the trails and they're more active, the less likely they are to do those things. And the more
Yeah.
active those trails are, then less likely people are going to. Because a lot of times, people when they're doing something wrong, they do things like in the darkness and like
Yeah.
where you can't people can't see them. But also if they have something to do, and that brings joy and like community at the very basis of it all, where they can do that with friends or family or what
Hmm.
have you, then the likelihood of them doing using other substances to offset whatever they're feeling is less likely. At least that's
Yeah.
what the research shows, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think one thing to take note too is like, Bentonville, yes, has the trails, but a very important piece that is still, getting better and better is the accessibility to bikes. Like we have an organization like Pedal It Forward where, they people can donate bikes to them and then they will give bikes to kids and people that aren't as fortunate to, be able to, buy a $8,000 bike or whatever.
Yeah,
Like I think that's something they've done pretty well too here. Cause like I've heard communities talk and they're like, we just want trails, trails, trails. And I'm like, you got to think of like the full picture here. Trails are going to be great, and that's a step. But what are we going to do to make it accessible for the general public? And that's a
yeah.
big piece of it.
No, you're right, and that's somewhere I was gonna go with it, right? But now you have, so it's like one thing at a time, right? You have the trails now, you have the buy-in, and then you have the opportunity for nonprofits to set up and like fill that gap. Dirt Therapy Project is one of those where
Yep.
we are still connecting with bigger organizations to try to fill in that gap for not only for veterans, right?
Hmm.
And like even here, I have bikes donated to us, and I kind of go through them, fix them up, and then I give them away. I mean that's far and few between, but you're right. Bikes are expensive, and that is a huge um, limiting factor for folks. But I mean, I think the market and everything that happened with COVID and everything would
Yeah.
happen fast forward. Like the market is starting to settle off. Granted, it's still
Yeah.
expensive. Um, but I mean, there's other, even building trails for hiking. I mean, there are some
Hmm.
of those, but just to get folks outside. And I think San Antonio is becoming more of an active place, especially with all the transplants from, that's one of the positives, right, of it.
Yeah.
And then people are influenced by others, right?
Hmm.
Positively and negatively. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a little bit slower, right? Because we don't have the money like such as the Waltons investing here
Definitely.
in San Antonio. But if we can get somebody like HEB, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, we can get in the right ears, man. We can start
Yeah.
building some trails.
That's one thing I'll bring up too is that I think communities like San Antonio and stuff will have the benefit of is you guys already have the grassroots aspect. Like you have people, volunteers that have already been trying to build trail. Like there's this community of mountain bikers. Um, Bentonville's awesome, but like everything was built backwards.
Mm.
Like they threw the trails here with no grassroots, anything. And so that was kind of the missing aspect of the trail community was having this real grassroots passion for the trails. It's coming now. Now that we've had trails for years, and like the volunteer basis is getting bigger and bigger. But it's just been different because like you guys, you already have the grassroots. You already have people that are like trying to build road trails or whatever, doing
Yeah.
like they're passionate about it,
Right.
and we just kind of went backwards with it. And that's something I kind of wish maybe was a little different about how the trails were brought up here. I mean, at the end of the day, no complaints here,
Yeah.
the grassroots aspect is very, very important in the mountain bike community.
So speaking of community, like the mountain biking, like as you kind of alluded, and haven't been there long enough. And the things I hear about it are all positive, right? How everyone's kind of looking out for each other. But every time there have been a couple of times where I go. I mean, granted, this one person doesn't speak for the entire community, but there's people that are frustrated because there's like too many people on one trail. And is that like a pretty common thing there, where you just kind of have like mountain biker Karens?
I'd say just mountain biker Karens, man. Like
Yeah.
I rarely see any interactions like that. I mean, they do exist, right? Like there's people out there that'll say all kinds of things. I remember we were just finishing building the bottom All American jumps. We had our work truck like on the side of the greenway right there with a trailer full of dirt, excavator. We were testing the jumps, and I had my bike, like I was sitting on my bike and I had half of it in the greenway, even though the truck was halfway in the greenway. And this road biker, this old man, like was coming down the greenway, and we didn't hear him. And I hear this like, "Hey, get off the greenway!" Like, don't park your, like some crazy, like real mean, like. And then, of course, I said something I probably shouldn't have to him, because I was like mad. But like you'll get stuff like that, like the trail Karens, the trail
Yeah.
snobs, the greenway snobs, but they don't. That's not like a. Most of the time, people are just like stoked to be out on a bike, man. Like you just ride around and everybody's happy to be there.
It's crazy how, like, coming from where I'm from, like it's kind of strange, honestly, like to go from our community to that community, and it almost has like a pleasant. Do you ever see that movie Pleasantville?
Yeah,
It's like strange, dude. It's like, man, this is like too perfect. It's like everyone's happy, like the shops are nice, and there's good food. I don't know. Maybe I'm not talking trash, but it is strange, but at the same time, I mean, it's a good kind of strange, but it's just like, man, is there like a freaking Sasquatch in the woods or something? I don't know. There's got to be some type of balance to it or something.
I mean, I don't know, man. The people that work in the trail industry here, that's a pretty small group, like relatively speaking, and so like you'll get clicks, if you will, I would say, where you can hear the drama train start to go or something like that. But there's definitely some normalcy here. It's not blown up all over the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's just people, man. People get tribal, and yeah, people have egos, and
I mean,
that's,
there's really not much to complain about here. I mean, realistically, I'm sitting in my house right now and I'm looking to my left, and there's a top of a ski lift being put in right there.
I was just about to bring that up, dude. Like, so if you whatever you can share with that, like, I hear they're gonna be a downhill park, right?
Oh yeah, the trails are like 70-80% complete.
Ooh.
The lift, they're just putting in the top of the lift here. All the lift poles are up. One of my best friends, Ethan Edmond, he is the trail construction director over there, like running the whole show. It's gonna be sick, dude. Like, I've gotten to go over there several times. I know a couple of the Gravity Logic guys that are building over there, Ian and Tom. And I mean, it's sometimes I think Bentonville hypes stuff up, like mountain bike capital of the world, and then we get laughed at. This is not one of those instances. Like, it is going to be a legit bike park that is super fun. And I think the lift takes like 3 minutes to get to the top.
How much? So was that like 200 and something feet of elevation?
Yeah, it's like right at 3, just under.
Nice. Spiders, like I think like at 240 or something. I could be
Yeah.
backing that up, but they make a
It,
lot. I mean, you can they use the elevation fairly well, I think.
yeah. Yeah. This place there is so many trails. Like it's gonna make Spider look like a skills park, like a kid's skills
Yeah.
park. Like it is, they
Have you
packed
been?
it in there.
Yeah. Shit, man. I guess if you, I'm trying to get an understanding, like, or how to ask the question, like, what the type of trails that are being built there. Like, if you had to put like a ratio to jump lines to tech to like, what does that balance look like?
I think it's pretty evenly spaced as far as the trail variety goes. One thing, and you may not have really thought about it, but typically here in Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, um, the real like limestone, bluffy, like bedrock stuff, you really don't get until like you're like 3/4 of the way down a hill. Like that's where you see all the rock. That's where trails get techie and stuff. So like you're definitely gonna have like some gnarly tech trails. Um, the gnarlier spots will be towards the bottom. Um, they have some huge jump lines going in. There is so many like bluff drops and like just craziness. Like there is a variety of everything. They've got green, blue, black, double black. Um, there is a jump trail going underneath the lift line here that is without giving too much information, it's going to be rowdy.
I'm excited for it, man. That's crazy, uh, and that's just gonna bring more. I don't know, like I think competition's good, right? Because
Yeah,
people will either rise to the occasion or they'll kind of give into it, right?
yeah.
And I think that's going to be good. Like, can you foresee uh there being more than one downhill park there?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we got the Bella Vista one, and then Mena, Arkansas is the second one. That's still in process with like some of the, like the paperwork stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
Uh, Mena is going to be like a very big deal in the mountain bike world. It's got as much elevation as Angel Fire from top to bottom.
Oh, how far is Mina from there?
It's like 3 hours south, so it's closer to you guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's right off the interstate, not too far. Got a little town of Mena, Arkansas there. One of the lifts, there's going to be multiple lifts. One of them actually goes into a state park called Queen Wilhelmina State Park. Gravity Logic's gonna, I think, is building that one. I believe they've did like some initial concepts and stuff, but it's that one's going to be insane. Like that's a legit like going to be fighting off like the big name bike parks for sure.
Then it can be like a EWS or sometime.
Oh yeah, maybe even a downhill race. We'll see.
Dang. I need to get a downhill bike, man. I got to ride the chainsaw and Whistler.
Yeah, dude, chainsaw's sick.
It is. I mean, I didn't have enough time on it, so I was kind of like riding the trails gingerly.
Yeah,
I was, as you know, right? Any new bike that you ride, if you try to ride it like your old bike, you probably gonna eat shit.
yeah. That's the one thing I like about the chainsaw though is like, you know, most downhill bikes are really long because they just want to charge down the mountain, you know, and like they advertise that as the park bike, and it's like the rear chainstay is pretty short, so it's like super playful, but I don't know, it's like the best combo, I think.
Yeah. I haven't. I don't know if I'm gonna pull the trigger on a downhill bike, but I did consider just getting like a downhill fork, for
Mhm.
my pivot, and just do it that way. But I don't know, we'll see. One thing at a time. Trying to
Yeah,
do too many things at once. But dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate the conversation. And
yeah,
yeah, do you want to bring up anything that you're working on or have any?
yeah. So, you know, I don't know how many people will ever watch this or who care to watch it, but think the one thing I want to leave with is like, if you are listening or watching, like, you matter to this world, you matter to whoever. Like, there's purpose in your life. I say that out loud because like I struggle with that daily, like as I'm sure you do and other people do. You could have the perfect life, trail building and a awesome family, and the demons inside still are like loud, 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 loud. Um, but just know that you can get through it, and life's worth it. It is. So, yeah,
That's a good point, man. And I try to let go of that idea of like whoever's gonna watch it. Like as we kind of alluded to earlier, like everything happens for a reason.
yeah,
And I do these podcasts and have people like yourself on, with the idea of like whoever is listening is meant to listen to it, and
hmm,
because they're willing to do the things to change their life. Because at the end of the day, that's what it takes is for somebody. But you're right, man. Like it's important for folks to, even though they can't see the light right now, potentially if
yeah,
there's even a little light in, let's say in this conversation and what you just shared, then that light will like shine through whatever darkness that they're going through. I'm not saying that it's not going to be easy, but if you can continue to kind of stack those little wins and the like,
yeah,
so one thing I've been thinking about recently and is like the idea of resilience. And some people seem to be more, um, I don't think it's a thing that you have or that you have or like that somebody has or doesn't have, but it's a skill.
yeah,
And if you continue to, regardless of how low your idea of self-worth is, if you can try to just focus on the small wins, no matter how small, and start building them. And every time it gets hard, you can be like, well, I did this once. Let me try to do a little bit more today.
yeah,
And that's kind of like one thing I had to do when I was in a dark place was um I used to be like just fucking depressed in the bed, dude. And I don't like talking about this, but it sucks to admit that, but that's what it was. And I would not want to move. I wouldn't want to. I would just fucking want to sleep all day. But one thing I started to, and I don't know how I came to this understanding, but I just started to do was like, all right, let me just sit up. Like, let me turn over to my side. And then the next time I would get like, all right, let me get up to my shoulder. And then I
hmm,
just kind of started to build that. And I mean, granted, I started to learn how to build that resilience. And it was like one little thing at a time, right? And trying to build and stack on those wins and then building the tools, having those tough conversations with my counselor or being around other people. Even like fast forward, right? Granted, I'm not trying to make it about me, but I think it's important. Like I used to go to the grocery store and I would fucking start to have these panic attacks. And I
hmm,
remember like having to like stop and just like collect my thoughts and just because that's what skill I learned was it was called in vivo or they call it exposure therapy, where you get put in these situations where you have to like um learn how to be comfortable in them and then stay
hmm,
there as long as you can. And then when you're uncomfortable, the point where you're about to have a panic attack, you kind of like, draw back, right?
yeah,
And then kind of reset. So just doing that over time, like now I can go to the grocery store and I'm not as hyper vigilant. I'm not as I don't want to say riddled, but I don't get to the point where I have to like just like to stand and reset and just kind of leave the store.
yeah,
And that just took time, man. It took time. And but I think it's important for folks to know that like what depending where you're at, that's a spectrum, right? And some people are
yeah,
like hyper independent or they're hyper functional and they refuse to accept the idea that there's something wrong with them because of the perception of how they feel that will make them look to others like weak.
yeah,
Oh, I'm not weak because I've had these conversations. but it's just like, yeah, but you're fucking being an asshole, like, to your family.
Yeah.
People don't want to be around you. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I'm not judging, but it's just like it's the stories we tell ourselves and the stories that end up defining us. It's all about that finding that balance in between the two. I mean, and it's also I've also heard the fact like, well, if I if I let my guard down and if I become these things, then I can't ever be back there. Like I'm not gonna
Hmm.
be a man anymore, or I'm not gonna be this or whatever, or a protector. But it's like, no, man, like you could still be that because you've been that before,
Yeah.
but you could also be this. Like, don't limit yourself in don't put yourself in a box, man.
Yeah.
The humans are very versatile in what they can and can't be.
Hmm.
You can be vulnerable in one moment and you can fucking take somebody out in the next moment, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I kind
Yeah.
of went on a tangent there.
I think about like, because I still struggle with it today, but you know, when I was diagnosed with PTSD a long time ago, I was so concerned with like if someone found out that I was diagnosed with that, like is a civilian person gonna think I'm some crazy freaking lunatic that's just gonna like fly off the handle and like, shoot up a grocery, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I still struggle with that a little bit to this day, but to kind of your point though, like, putting ourselves in a box, like I'm more than a box, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm trying to grow with is like knowing that I'm more than Robbie the trail builder. I'm more than Robbie the vet, the combat vet, the guy with PTSD. Like I'm more than that.
Yeah.
That's not my. I think a lot of guys get out of the military or maybe are in the guard and like that's their whole personality is like the military, like which I get, but like there's more to it than that.
Yeah. That's their identity, and
Mm-hmm.
they cling to it.
Yeah.
And I see it. And it's cool to be proud, but it's like to
Yeah.
be like hyper proud, where to the point where you're like belittling other people because they didn't do as
Mm-hmm.
much as you think, as
Yeah.
you feel they should have done.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a vet. I mean, I don't know if he was a vet, but he was claiming that you weren't a veteran unless you were in combat. And I
Huh.
was just, yeah, but he went on this, I mean, it was a short clip, but he was pretty
Yeah.
angry about it. And all I saw was like, and I don't know what his experiences are, man. But I was just like, dude, like I hope, I hope you like find peace, man. Like in
Yeah.
whatever, because whatever that is, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what your experience is or why view things that way. I respect your right to say it, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like that attitude is why so many people do not get help.
Yeah.
Because I think, especially as men, and I'm assuming some women, they don't get help because they minimize their experiences because they
Yeah.
understand, like, hey, man, I didn't do that. I wasn't on the front line. I wasn't special forces. I wasn't this. But
Yeah.
that minimization is, what is it? Like a thief is a comparison is a thief of joy. So, and I know a lot of people that don't get help because they don't feel deserving that they get help,
Yeah.
or they don't want to take a spot, or they don't want to, I don't know, I don't want to go ride with you guys because I wasn't in the military or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, but the very basis of it all, it's like, it's the human experience, man.
Yeah.
And as you alluded, you kind of shared your story earlier, like childhood is a huge component in how we move in the world and we exist in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and PTS can happen in childhood as well, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like talking about that video you said you watched. I think I've seen that same one, and I deal with it a lot with the younger soldiers, having those feelings of like I don't deserve anything because I didn't grow up in the GWAT era, like most of us did, and it's like a real thing. There's one in particular I talk to pretty often, and I mean, he's deep in it right now, fighting it because like he doesn't feel like he's fulfilled any kind of purpose with his career because he's, didn't do anything in the GWAT. He didn't do, and I respect that guy's, right to share his opinion, but like you said, like I mean, it's worsening the situation by telling these people, like, I mean, at the end of the day, we all signed the same dotted line. We didn't choose where we went. Like, that was decided for us, you know, like,
Right.
so.
Yeah, dude. And I'm in that box, dude. Like I deployed 7 times, but it was like not to, most of the time it was to um like where a lot of guys went to R&R.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we launched operations from some of those places.
Yeah.
And one factor that people don't consider is, and I'm not saying it's the same or what have you, but technology is changing the landscape, and
Mhm.
drone warfare, especially like if you look at Ukraine, and that's a whole different level to it. But
Mhm.
the people that operate uh drones and actually take up that's a whole different factor that brings in a level of PTS because of the complexities of it and the minimization and the idea of like where you're like it's not even fair.
Yeah.
Like this person, I've been, watching this person for I don't know, weeks, months, and then you kind of build that personalization with them, and then you see all their movements and what have you, and
Mhm.
then one day you get the order and you take them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And from like miles, thousands of miles away in some cases.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't, and but that's one concept in a variety of different ways that warfare is changing. The kinetic warfare is changing.
Yeah. It's so wild to think that, because I remember this is years ago when the drone things were like really starting to get going. And like,
Yeah.
I remember a guy I knew who was a drone operator here in the state of Arkansas, but was flying over in the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
and he was getting combat pay for it, you know. And in my childish head, I was like, blah, blah, you know, you've never been there or whatever. You know, you grow up and you realize, like, you know, the battles they're going through. Like, I think in some ways it's harder, you know, because I think about some of the stuff I saw under MVGs, and your brain, it's like this weird battle of like, because it's green and black, it's not really happening. It's like a video game.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get home and you start thinking about it, you know, and processing what you saw, even though it was on a screen, kind of, you know,
Right.
like that's a whole nother level of like processing. And these guys are doing it, you know, like
Every
it's not a
day.
green and yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not a green and black screen. Like they're seeing it in full color. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild, dude, to think about.
Yeah. It's a lot of it's like IR. I mean, I don't know if they
Hmm.
went to color now, but when I saw it and I supported some of those missions, and I went from two different places too. I went from like, fuck yeah, we're getting the bad guys, but then there were
Hmm.
some that were like a little bit more gray
Yeah.
because it's like they didn't have weapons. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what the intel was. I wasn't high enough on the rank, and I was only there
Yeah.
for a few seconds. A lot of times the comm was taken out, so we're going in to bring up their comms, and then we
Hmm.
saw the result of it. And then I've seen the other side where some people were like getting off to it, man. Like
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
hey man, like fucking check this out. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I don't know, man. And that's a span of like 20 year service, right? It's just
Hmm.
like seeing like the different, like from the beginning, seeing 9/11 to deploying,
Yeah.
uh, supporting, kind of being excited about it, and then being there for a while, and then you have like, fuck, man, why are we here? And like
Uh-huh.
not
Yeah.
like this specific area, and like they don't even want us here, they don't even care, like it's just because you become like you have enough time where you start to ask the questions, and then you start to fight yourself with those questions, right? And then you get out, and in retrospect, all the stuff that's coming out. But I say that to say, like, it's a very convoluted, challenging, and things aren't always as black and white as some vets might think.
Yeah.
Um,
I tell people that all the time. Like, there's nothing about what we do that's black and white ever.
no, no, we're not always given the full picture, and
Yeah.
then unfortunately, you have some of those people that, yeah, I do feel like I've served with the best people in the world, that are feel that they're doing. We all feel like we're making a change for the positive.
Yeah.
Now, what politicians do, and people with that contracts or whatever. Like that's out of our scope, and we're not privy to those things. We're just trying to do the best we can with what we have,
Yeah.
with the picture and the information that we have. I say all that to say, yeah, man, it's I think the combat community that actually saw combat and what have you is a very small percentage,
Mm-hmm.
and we are doing the vast community of our brothers and sisters a huge disservice by not valuing their experience. Because
1,000%.
yeah, man, like because we the stories we tell ourselves in our heads, that invisible battle that we have in trying to be part of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though we didn't have a choice in where we went, how, like what we did or what
Yeah.
have you. Like there's a book called have you read, I talk about this often, have you read Tribe by Sebastian
No.
Younger?
Mm-mm.
So that's a good book, man. And I recommend anybody listening to it, especially somebody that's I would recommend it to the troop you're talking to,
Yeah.
that he reads that book, because it talks about not just GWAT, it talks about like the war, World War One, World War Two,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the civilians that were like in the UK that were in the subways, living together. And then like the experience when they left, there were people who were not even at war, but they
Mm-hmm.
built this community, this tribe. They relied on each other, and then when they kind of went where things were not so dangerous, they've had this trouble of belonging. This, but either way, I don't want to give too much of the book away.
Yeah.
That helped me highlight or help me understand and give some appreciation for my experience, and not minimize myself as much, um, because it also talks about like people that are not serving on the front line have a higher suicide rate or suicidal ideation than the people that served in combat.
Yeah.
And then I'll even add another one. I had a Jeff Dardia. The first time I interviewed him, which was like 4 years ago, he talked about like that, like the people that uh serve in combat have like were trained for that. They were
Mm-hmm.
trained to be under the that situation, right? Those scenarios. I'm not saying it makes it easy, but the people that are not trained for it, they're not trained to see some of the things they see. That's why it's more traumatic for them, because
Mm-hmm.
they weren't trained to prepare the body and the mind for that. Not to say
Yeah.
that all the training in the world, but it's more likely to affect somebody that's not prepared to see some of the things that they see.
That makes sense.
Right? I mean, I again, like this podcast, the conversations I have on a daily basis with people, to include on this, like your like people like yourself, it helps me start to peel back the layers, and I hope that it does the same for anybody listening. And even if civilians, man, like I've seen, okay, I've been shot at more times out of the military than in the military. At my house,
Yeah.
or at parties I went to, and they weren't always firing at me, but I just
Yeah.
happened to hear the bullets whizzing over my
Yeah.
head. I know, like sometimes had to sleep on the floor. I've seen people like stabbed. I've seen people like die like on our in front of our house. We're playing
Mm-hmm.
kickball, ODs, all kinds of stuff, right? So I do feel that I had a level of trauma, even though I didn't know what that was from my upbringing, and then
Yeah.
plus everything happened in my house. I didn't even get into it. I didn't want to make it about me, but I do have experience with addiction, not only with my family but also personally,
Mm-hmm.
where I started to cope with and use alcohol, right? Because it's legal, right? Alcohol is
Yeah.
legal, so it's okay. But it's like one of the most, damaging things that we could do for like our nervous system, our body, our
Mm-hmm.
biology, etc., right? And everything within reason. But man, I hope, and I'm glad that you found that job opened up, like God kind of
Mm-hmm.
put you in that path to do what you're doing in there, because you can at least help them untangle and unravel like some of the negative thought processes they have with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree, man.
I said a lot there.
It was good. It was all good stuff.
Um, but Yeah, dude, that's my hope for this, man. Is I like to talk about like a lot of things, man, but this is one of the main veins for it is kind of just throwing our crap on the table and just kind of let people kind of take what they can from it. Because at the end of the day, like they have to do the work.
Hmm.
Like there's not one thing that's going to, even like psychedelics, right? Psychedelics can be a profound experience and detach your ego and allow you to kind of vision or see your situation from a like a high level 30,000 foot view,
Hmm.
and you can untangle it for yourself, right? I mean, not to mention like the rewiring of synapses and what have you. But even then, like you still have to do the work afterwards, right? You have to take
Sure.
that experience and then apply what you learned from it and continue to do the work afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
not one thing that's going to fix you. You always have to do the work and take each opportunity to build on it and grow from it. Um, and on various levels.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, talking about you have to do the work. I remember growing up going to AA meetings with my mom or my dad, and that was one of the things they always talked about. It was like that you as the individual, you have to do the work. Like it's up to you. Like your family member can tell you to stop drinking or doing whatever all they want, but until you decide and you do the work, like it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think subtly, like maybe that sat in my brain, even though like I'm not in AA or done anything like that. Like I think that's subtly set in my brain, like with certain aspects of my life where I'm like, dang, like yeah, this is up to me. Like I've got to do this. So.
Yeah. And because it's convenient. I see it a lot. And I think at one point I used to do it too, where we try to put like, we ask our partners or whoever's in our life, like, that it's their job or responsibility to make me happy, right?
Hmm.
And it's a misconception that a lot of people have. But at the end of the day, like, happiness or contentment is an inside job.
Hmm.
And we have to do the work, man. I went when I was in an inpatient. I went through. Well, they gave me the option, like, oh, we don't think you're addicted to anything, but we recommend that we're gonna have AA while you're here. And I was like, well, fuck, I ain't doing anything else, might as well go. And it was challenging, but I'm glad I went because I was able to kind of ask the questions, right? I would hear their
Hmm.
story and I would like just be listening, like very curious. And like I would ask these probing questions, like, well, and one of the things that stuck out to me is like when I asked one person, because I would hear them, they would come in often, right? That was
Hmm.
part of step 12 is to go back in and tell their story, right? To help the
Hmm.
others. And I don't remember all the steps. I mean, I stayed on step one, honestly. Um, but I was still there listening, engaged, right? To hear I was listening to them and applying myself in their experience, right?
Hmm.
Like it was because I didn't, I was trying to understand addiction, like because in my mind, I thought addiction was just like I wake up every morning, I have to start drinking or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
I have to start doing this, and I can't stop. That's what I thought addiction was, not understanding that there's different levels of addiction.
Hmm.
So when I asked the guy, I was like, "Well, how did you know you were addicted? Like, what do you remember what beer you had or what day it was or and they were like that's the thing, like you crossed that line and you never knew you crossed it, like you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
that fucking like clicked. I was like, damn, you're addicted and you didn't even know it,
Yeah.
because your body just becomes it's like a subtle thing, right?
Hmm.
And that's kind of evil in nature. It's just like, damn, like you didn't even, and I'm not saying that's for everyone, but for most people, like they don't understand like this one thing that you're doing, whatever it is, if it's
Yeah.
bringing that dopamine, that joy every day, and you have to continually, you know, dial up that notch of that intake
Hmm.
to get that same level of joy out of it,
Yeah.
like, and then before you know it, it's, you need it.
Yeah.
I was on that line, dude. I feel I was on that line. I think I went through withdrawals in there. Looking back on it. Um, but I started, yeah, man. And it was just this thing, right? This is the legal thing I can do, and this is making me feel better. It's helping me sleep. I'm not really thinking
Hmm.
as much. But yeah, man. It's, I mean, again, this sucks saying, but if it helps somebody out there, then so be it, man.
Yeah, man. I agree with that.
But yeah, it's yeah.
Wild times, man.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. It's just where this conversation goes, and sometimes this conversation's clunky.
Yeah.
It's a dance, dude. Conversation is a dance, and
Yeah.
um, it's especially when you're talking about something so personal,
Hmm.
and you kind of get lost in thought, right? Because you're going back to that place and that time, and it's a place that it's not necessarily that I'm trying to escape, but it's like I think I've wasted enough time not doing anything and kind of being stuck in my um the gnats, if you will, the negative
Hmm.
thoughts that you tell yourself that I don't ever want to be there again. And
Yeah.
at the same time, it's I wanted to grow and impact uh those that I mean, because like even like in the like I think about the person I was in the military, and I'm like, damn, I could have been a better leader. I could have been a better and these are we always focus on the negative, right?
Hmm.
And that's kind of where my mind goes is like, how many people did I influence to do the wrong thing by the way I carried myself and not respecting the rank I was? And not to say I
Hmm.
didn't really go out of my way to take care of people,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like if we're charismatic enough, we can influence people in a negative way. So what type of
Yeah.
leader, if we're not being consciously aware of how we're moving in the world, then we can lead people down the wrong path.
Yeah. Where do you think that balance is? Because I mean, we both know, like, I think sometimes as a leader, you forget to portray realism in the sense of like, I'm the leader, let's say, but like I need to make sure that I have a balance point where I show, my troops or whatever that I'm still a human being, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us, like, I know I've been bad at that, where I portray I'm just like this superhuman leader, that
Hmm.
does no wrong, like kind of flip the script here, but like where do you think that balance point lies with all your experience and everything?
I think it's case by case. Like obviously the way you interact with people, right, is how you show you're genuine, right? The way you talk to
Hmm.
people, the
Yep.
way it's not like a robot, it's
Yep.
like fucking knife handing all the time, and
Yeah.
just kind of, but it's like showing vulnerability and compassion when the opportunity shows itself with the right people, right? Because
Yep.
not you can't really be that way with everyone. I've
Yep.
learned, um, because they're not going to receive it, they're not going to understand it because they're not in that place, right? But it's also like taking people aside one on one and checking on them, and
Hmm.
like if they're not, you can tell that they're off, and that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
understanding your people, right? You could tell that they're off, and you kind of like have whatever briefing, and then like, hey man, can I talk to you inside for a second?
Hmm.
And check in with them, like you doing good, dude? Like everything all right? And providing that opportunity, that window for them to kind of share whatever that they're going through. And
Yeah.
I think it's listening to our intuition, right?
Mm.
Like when we feel like something's off,
Yeah.
like at the very least ask, right? And
Yep.
you're providing that opportunity. And at the very least, if they say like, "No, I'm good, man. I'm good, Sergeant," or whatever, they know that they're being seen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man. Yeah, 100%
Um,
agree with that.
so it's all a balance, man. Like, because there's a time, like if shit's got to get done, like you're on a
Yeah.
deployment and there's a mission and you don't have time to um check in with people. It's like making the time when the window shows itself to make time when things are low. And at the same time, it's also with yourself.
Hmm.
Like if you need to take time away and reset and kind of write things down, and kind of do like a hot wash with yourself,
Yeah.
or even if you like, I don't know, you kind of overt, right? Like you overcorrect and you're just kind of like really getting somebody's ass because it's a safety thing. That was my thing. I never yelled until like it was like safety or
Yeah.
if somebody just pushed me too far.
Yeah.
Um, but I would always usually go back and check in with them like, hey, that was I might have went a little, turned the volume up a little too much, but this is where my mind was at. This is how I understood it and kind of give them an opportunity to kind of speak their piece or what have you. So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, that was spot on, man.
But it's really all understanding yourself. And the more you understand yourself, the more you understand others. And then also remembering where you were when, so whether it's in rank, age, experience, is understanding where they're at and then reflecting on it like, oh, I was kind of knucklehead at that rank. So I get it. But at the same time, like, hey, man, I understand what it is like to be there. And secondly, like, this is what I learned, and looking back, this is what you can learn from it, learn from my
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely, man.
So that's really all it is, man, is understanding yourself. The more work you do on yourself, the more, the better leader you can be for your people or your family.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's not easy because, I mean, if it was, it's easy to be cold. It's easy to, you know, to ignore. It's easy to do all those things, but yeah, it's worth it, man, because you take care of people, they'll take care of you.
Yeah, I think you said it perfect. It's worth it. That's
Yeah,
all that needs to be said, man. It's worth it.
yeah, because you don't ever know what somebody's going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier said than done, but like it was a TED talk right there.
Yep.
Like, man, I was listening to you to hear your guess, not you.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. But no, I appreciate the question, man.
Yeah,
That's what this is, dude. It's a two-way conversation. You can ask whatever questions, man, and I'll answer it as best as I know how. I know it's not easy to sit there and just like be asked questions like fuck, because you kind of
yeah,
you get. I've been on the opposite end of it a few times, and it's just like, oh man, I know the answer, but it's like when you get caught off guard, it's kind of hard to. And then afterwards, you reflect. I'm like, man, I should have used this experience instead.
yeah.
But yeah, dude. Um, hopefully, I think that's a good way to end it, man. What do you think?
I think so, man.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed yourself, man. I appreciate you coming on, and like sharing your experience, especially there in the beginning. Um, it's I think it's going to affect who needs to hear it positively. At the very least, let them know that they're not alone in it.
yeah,
And on the other side of it, it's kind of brought you to where you're at now, man.
absolutely.
And I think that's what this life is like sharing experiences and in community. Because we're not meant to go through this world alone. And this siloing off of like technology and phones is one of the root reasons why our society is where it is right now. It's like everyone's kind of siloed off with their algorithm and not talking to each other and knows how to communicate. And I think riding bikes on the trails, hiking, biking, snowboarding, whatever, like getting back out in nature and where we truly belong is is key, man. At the very least, to keep that balance and have both, existence,
Yeah,
to keep our sanity. But
yeah, man.
appreciate you, dude. I love you, dude, and hopefully we get to ride soon.
Yeah, you too, man. I hope so. This comes off here soon, so
Dude, I'll try to do my best to stay upright too, man.
yeah, yeah. It was good talking to you, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here.
Yeah, man. I hope your child feels better, man. Joey feels better.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a baby when I'm sick, dude.
Yeah, same.
I can deal with a lot of stuff, but when I get sick, I'm freaking.
All right, cool. Take it easy, bro.
All right, you too, man.
All right, see ya.
Hey, thanks again for listening. If you guys are struggling with anything, I hope you guys have a person to talk to, chat with, And at the very least, you can take something from this podcast, the information and how we chose to deal with our set of issues. Understand you're not alone, even though not everyone shares their experiences. Everyone's going through something. So I appreciate your time, your effort, your energy, and your presence with this podcast. And I'm trying to work on looking at the camera. You know, I'm working on my setup. So I appreciate your patience. And yeah, if you feel that this will help anyone in your family or someone you know, please share this with them. And I'll try to keep a good balance of having fun conversations as well. But this is where our focus is. This is the holiday seasons. So a lot of people kind of, isolate, don't go outside, get the proper vitamin D. That's something you can supplement with. Take vitamin D, fish oil, zinc to help process. And yeah, just don't take too much vitamin D. That'll make you sick. So appreciate you guys. Have a good one and take care. All right.